Welcome to Tech 4 Climate Insights, the new podcast miniseries by Climate Investors Alliance, formerly known as Startup Basecamp, where we dive into the future of climate solutions. From must-watch startups and key industry exits to inspiring women leaders, top climate events, and essential reads for climate tech professionals, we've got you covered. As you tune in, we invite you to reflect. What area of climate tech are you most curious about? Is it groundbreaking startups, industry-shaping exits, or the key trends driving the future?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into the must-attend climate tech events coming up in Q2 2025. Consider this your guide to the most exciting events for founders, investors, and really anyone passionate about climate solutions.
Yeah, we have a busy calendar ahead of us with events happening all over the world.
It really is amazing to see how much the climate tech space is growing. So let's get right to it. What are some of the events that stand out to you as we look at April?
Well, the Energy Tech Summit in Bilbao is definitely one to watch. It seems perfectly positioned to explore those innovations. I mean, the convergence of energy and mobility is such a key area for decarbonization. Imagine a future with electric vehicles seamlessly integrated into a renewable energy grid. That's the kind of vision this summit is exploring.
It's interesting how those sectors, energy and mobility, are now working together so closely. For a broader look at U.S. climate action, there's also the U.S. Climate Action Summit happening in Washington, D.C.
Right, and that one seems like a really good opportunity to see what direction U.S. climate policy and investment is headed, especially with so many different stakeholders involved.
Moving from policy to more practical solutions, Rebuild in Madrid is all about sustainable construction. I'm really curious about the potential of building materials to reduce the carbon footprint of our cities.
Me too. Rebuild is going to showcase some cutting-edge building designs and technologies that are aiming to have as little environmental impact as possible. Think about materials like hempcrete or cross-laminated timber. They offer more sustainable alternatives to the usual concrete and steel.
It's pretty amazing to think that the buildings we live and work in could actually be a part of the climate solution. Okay, now shifting gears to the financial side of things, there are two major events coming up focused on sustainable investing. The Sustainable Investment Forum in Paris and the Innovation Zero World Congress in London.
And those events are really important for highlighting the role of finance in getting us to a sustainable economy. They bring together investors, policymakers, and entrepreneurs, all committed to putting capital towards impactful climate solutions.
And for those who are particularly interested in making sure their investments match their values, the Impact Investing World Forum in London that's happening in May seems like it would be a perfect fit.
Definitely. It's all about ESG investing and social impact. A great chance to connect with people and organizations who are really putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see that ESG considerations are becoming more common in the investment world. Now, for anyone who loves a good challenge, the Hack Summit in Lausanne sounds really exciting.
Oh, yeah. Just picture a room full of passionate founders and investors, all focused on tackling some of the toughest challenges in food and climate tech. I mean, the energy and innovation that comes out of these hackathons is truly inspiring.
And speaking of tackling challenges, Carbon Unbound, which is happening in New York, is all about accelerating carbon dioxide removal at a gigaton scale, not a small goal.
It is a huge area of focus, and this event is bringing together experts in carbon capture, storage, and utilization. They'll be discussing how to scale up these technologies to have a significant impact on emissions globally.
Yeah.
Things like direct air capture, biochar, and enhanced weathering. All of these have the potential to remove so much CO2 from the atmosphere.
It is kind of mind-boggling to think about the scale of these solutions. For those who prefer a more hands-on experience, the Green Tech Festival in Berlin sounds like an awesome way to really immerse yourself in the world of sustainable innovation.
For sure. That festival is showcasing a huge variety of sustainable technologies and solutions. Everything from electric vehicles and renewable energy to circular economy models and sustainable fashion. A really great opportunity to see how these innovations are already changing things and to get inspired by what's possible.
It is encouraging to see so much creativity and ingenuity going into these climate solutions. Now, as we move into June, we have two major tech events on the calendar: London Tech Week and Viva Tech in Paris.
Those are massive gatherings. And while they're not solely focused on climate tech, they're definitely giving more attention to climate solutions. It's a sign that climate considerations are becoming mainstream, even within the tech industry.
Yeah, it's a good sign that even those events that aren't explicitly about climate tech are still recognizing its importance. Now, for something a little different, What about the Closters Forum in Switzerland? It seems to be a more intimate gathering.
It is. The Closters Forum is known for bringing in really influential thinkers and leaders to talk about some of the most pressing environmental challenges. It's an opportunity to really dive into specific issues and think about potential solutions in a more focused environment.
It sounds like a good chance to get away from the noise of those bigger events and really dig into the complexity of these issues. Okay, let's shift our focus to some regional events. What about the World Agritech South America Summit happening in Sao Paulo?
That one is all about the importance of sustainability and climate-smart farming practices in the South American agricultural sector.
Yeah.
Given how important that region is to global food production, this event is crucial for exploring how to feed a growing population without harming the environment.
And to wrap up our June lineup, we have Reset Connect, which is happening in London. That one seems to have a broader focus on sustainability across a number of different sectors.
Right. Reset Connect is focused on sustainability and net zero strategies across lots of different sectors. They'll be showing how businesses, investors, and innovators are working towards a net zero economy in the UK. It's a good platform to connect with people leading the way towards a more sustainable future.
Wow, we've already covered a lot. And Q2 is definitely jam-packed with some really exciting events. Before we get into our top picks for climate investors, do you have any overall thoughts on the bigger picture of these events?
I think what's most striking is just how diverse and global these events are. We're seeing climate action move away from being concentrated in just a few key regions to becoming a truly international movement.
It's definitely inspiring to see so many different countries and sectors represented. It really does feel like a turning point where climate tech is going from something niche to something much more mainstream.
Exactly. And we're seeing it not just in the number of events, but also in how different sectors are coming together. We're seeing more events like the Energy Tech Summit that focus on where different industries overlap.
That makes sense. It really highlights the need for solutions that address multiple challenges at once. It's not just about renewable energy or sustainable transportation anymore. It's about how all these different pieces fit together to create a truly sustainable future.
Yeah, that's right. And we're also seeing more emphasis on scaling up solutions that already exist. It's not enough to just come up with innovative technology. We need to figure out how to use it on a large scale to make a real difference.
And that's where events like Carbon Unbound come in, right? Bringing together experts to figure out how to speed up the deployment of carbon dioxide removal technologies. For those of us in the Climate Investors Alliance, this is particularly interesting. We're always on the lookout for scalable solutions that can have a real impact on climate change.
Absolutely. And for early-stage investors, events like that Hack Summit in Lausanne are so valuable for finding those next-gen climate tech startups. Those kinds of hackathons often bring out these groundbreaking ideas and passionate founders who are really pushing the limits of what's possible.
It's like getting a glimpse into the future of climate tech. And speaking of the future, one trend I'm excited about is the growing role of finance in moving us towards a sustainable economy. Events like the Sustainable Investment Forum and the Impact Investing World Forum are showcasing how money can be used as a force for good.
Definitely. And those events are attracting a whole new type of investor who is dedicated to using their resources to create positive social and environmental impact. It's not just about the biggest return anymore. It's about making sure investments match values and contribute to a more sustainable future.
It's a big shift in mindset. But it's not just about institutional investors. What about individuals? What can they do to support the growth of climate tech? What advice would you give to someone who wants to be more involved but maybe can't make it to every single event?
That's a good question. While going to events is a great way to learn about climate tech, it's not the only way. Lots of events offer virtual options or live streams, so you can still participate even if you're not there in person. You can also follow the organizers and speakers on social media, or subscribe to their newsletters, or read industry publications to stay informed about the latest developments.
So even if you can't be there physically, there are still ways to stay connected.
Absolutely. And don't forget about networking. Connect with other climate investors and professionals online and in your community. Share ideas, talk about challenges, and support each other. We're all in this together, you know?
Speaking of collaboration, one thing that really stood out to me was how much emphasis there is on partnerships and sharing knowledge at these events. It's not just about competition, it's about working together to find solutions.
Oh, for sure. There's a growing sense that we need to work together to tackle the climate crisis. And these events are a platform for making those connections, sharing ideas, and building those partnerships that will help us move forward.
It is encouraging to see that spirit of collaboration. Now, before we wrap up, I'd like to hear what your top picks for climate investors are. Which events do you think are most valuable for finding investment opportunities?
Well, for anyone interested in those early-stage innovations, the Hack Summit in Lausanne is a must. It's a chance to meet those passionate founders, see those cutting-edge ideas in action, and maybe even find the next big thing in climate tech.
It sounds like a great chance to get in on the ground floor of some really groundbreaking stuff. What else is on your list?
Carbon Unbound in New York is another one I'd really recommend for climate investors. That focus on carbon removal technologies is so important, and the event brings in all the top experts and innovators in that field. It's a great place to learn about the latest developments and explore investment opportunities.
It's an area with a lot of potential for impact and for investment. Are there any other events that you think should be on the radar of climate investors?
Well, if you're interested in how tech and climate are coming together, I would suggest checking out both London Tech Week and VivaTech in Paris. Even though they aren't entirely focused on climate, they still offer insights into how the tech world is approaching climate solutions. It's a good way to see how climate tech is becoming part of the bigger tech landscape. And you might even meet some potential partners or collaborators there.
It is interesting to see how climate considerations are becoming part of those mainstream tech events. It shows how important climate action is for the future of the tech industry.
Exactly. And for anyone who's interested in impact investing, the Impact Investing World Forum in London is a must. It's the perfect place to connect with other investors who share your values, learn about the newest trends in ESG and social impact investing, and find those ventures that are making a real difference.
It's a good reminder that investing in climate solutions isn't just about reducing risk. It's also about supporting things you believe in and making the world a better place. As members of the Climate Investors Alliance, that's something we all care a lot about.
Definitely. And that brings me to my final thought for our listeners. The climate crisis is a big challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity. By investing in climate tech and supporting those innovators who are developing solutions, we can build a future that's more sustainable and resilient.
Well said. These events are proof that there's so much momentum and innovation in the climate tech space. To all of our fellow members of the Climate Investors Alliance, I encourage you to explore these events, connect with others who share your passion, and find those investment opportunities that match your vision for a sustainable future.
Don't forget, the future is in our hands. Let's make it a sustainable one.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into all those exciting climate tech events happening in Q2 2025. We hope you found it useful.
Yeah, and I think it's not just in the sheer number of events, right? But also in how different sectors are kind of converging. We're seeing more events like the Energy Tech Summit that really focus on the intersection of different industries.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It really highlights that we need solutions that address lots of challenges all at once. It's not just about renewable energy or sustainable transportation in their own little silos anymore. It's about how all of these pieces fit together to create that sustainable future that we're all looking for.
Exactly, yeah. And I think another thing we're seeing is a bigger emphasis on scaling up those solutions that already exist. It's not just about developing the technology. We need to figure out how to deploy it on a massive scale if we want to make a real difference.
And that's where those events like Carbon Unbound come in, right? They're all about bringing those experts together and figuring out how we can speed up the use of carbon dioxide removal technologies. And for those of us in the Climate Investors Alliance, that's really important. We're always looking for solutions that can make a difference on a large scale when it comes to climate change.
Absolutely, yeah. And for early stage investors, events like the Hack Summit in Lausanne are so valuable. They're a great way to find those next generation climate tech startups. I think those hackathons often showcase some really groundbreaking ideas and really passionate founders who are really, pushing the boundaries.
It is kind of like a sneak peek into the future of climate tech. And speaking of the future, one trend that I'm particularly excited about is the growing role of finance in driving us towards a more sustainable economy. Events like the Sustainable Investment Forum and the Impact Investing World Forum are really showing how capital can be a real force for good.
Yeah, definitely. And they're attracting a new kind of investor who is really committed to making sure their investments are aligned with their values and are actually contributing to a better future. It's not just about the biggest returns anymore.
It's a pretty significant shift in how people are thinking. But it's not just about institutional investors, right? What about everyday people? What can they do to support the growth of climate tech? What advice would you give to someone who wants to be more involved but maybe can't attend every event out there?
That's a good question. I think while attending those events in person is a great way to get immersed in that world, It's certainly not the only way. Lots of events offer virtual attendance, or you can watch them live stream, so you can still participate from wherever you are. You can also follow organizers, speakers on social media, subscribe to newsletters, read industry publications. There are a lot of ways to stay up to date.
So even if you're not physically there are still ways to stay informed and connected.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of networking. Connect with other investors, climate professionals online, in your community. Just share ideas. Talk about the challenges and support each other's work. We're all in this together.
Speaking of collaboration, one thing that I really noticed is how much emphasis these events put on partnerships and knowledge sharing. It's not about competition, it's about working together to find those solutions.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a growing recognition that this requires everyone to participate. And these events really do provide a great platform for forging those connections, exchanging those ideas, and building the partnerships that we need to make progress.
It is encouraging to see that. So before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your picks for events that climate investors should attend. Which ones stand out as being really valuable for finding those investment opportunities?
Well, I'd say if you're interested in those early stage innovations, the Hack Summit in Lausanne is definitely one to attend. You can meet those founders, see the ideas, maybe find that next big thing in climate tech.
It sounds like a fantastic way to get in at the ground level. Is there anything else on your list?
Yeah, Carbon Unbound in New York is another one that I think is really good for climate investors. The focus on those carbon removal technologies is really relevant right now, and it attracts some of the leading experts and innovators in that field. So it's a good place to learn, explore investment opportunities, and just kind of see what's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely an area with huge potential for both impact and investment. Are there any other events that you think investors should have on their radar?
Yeah, if you're interested in that convergence of tech and climate, I would definitely recommend checking out both London Tech Week and Viva Tech in Paris. They're not totally climate focused, but they can give you some good insights into how the tech industry is approaching climate solutions. It's a good opportunity to see how climate tech is being integrated into that broader tech landscape and to connect with some potential partners and collaborators.
It is interesting to see how those climate considerations are becoming more and more integrated into those big mainstream tech events. It says a lot about how important climate action is becoming for the future of the tech industry.
Yeah, exactly. And for those who are interested in impact investing, the Impact Investing World Forum in London is definitely one to attend. It's a great opportunity to connect with other investors who are like-minded and explore the latest trends in ESG and social impact investing, and maybe even discover some really promising ventures that are making a difference.
It is a good reminder that investing in climate solutions is not just about mitigating risk, it's also about aligning your portfolio with your values and contributing to a better world. And, as members of the Climate Investors Alliance, that's something that we all care a lot about.
Absolutely, and that actually brings me to my final thought for everyone listening today. The climate crisis is a huge challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity. By investing in climate tech and supporting those innovators who are developing solutions, we can really create a future that is more sustainable and more resilient for everyone.
Well said. These events are a real testament to all the incredible momentum and innovation that's happening in the climate tech space. And to all of our fellow members of the Climate Investors Alliance, I really encourage you to explore these events, connect with people who share your passion, and find those investment opportunities that really match your vision for a sustainable future.
And remember, the future is in our hands. Let's make it a sustainable one.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into all the exciting climate tech events happening in Q2 2025. We hope you found it informative and inspiring.